rescue op. Save the dinosaurs from an island that's about to explode. What could go wrong?
Hello and welcome to Fallen Kingdom. We return to Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And here we are back to discuss minute 51 of Fallen Kingdom. Before we get to that, David, heading over to Wikipedia briefly for an article here on the Unimog, Mercedes-Benz Unimog. I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm sure we would have touched on this for Jurassic World when we have the Unimog chase. Particularly top speeds, whether or not a Unimog could outrun a pack of raptors. All that stuff we would have discussed that minute, but yeah, bit of a reference here on the Unimog. Its history, obviously used European armed forces. We used it here up until I think it's only just getting phased out now. The last couple of years it's been phased out, so it had one purpose, and that was to carry things off road. So yeah, so the link to the Wikipedia article here is in this the run sheet that'll be posted up with the episode.
3 years after the fall of Jurassic World, the debate over Isla Nublar rages on. The island's long-dormant volcano, reclassified as active, has shown considerable unrest in recent months. Geologists now predict an extinction-level event will kill off the last living dinosaurs on the planet.
Dave, ready to get to minute 51 of Fallen Kingdom?
Sounds good.
Alright, minute 51 of Fallen Kingdom opens with Owen and Franklin hanging on the back of the Unimog and ends with a brachiosaurus waving off the departing boat. We're nearly there. As we're in minute 50, Owen and Franklin had managed to climb under the back of the speeding Unimog. Claire was now driving towards the boat. We cut to the rear ramp of the ship, drop into the water as the vessel powers away from the dock. Unsure why it drops. It's obviously a ramp that's part of the boat. You'd think it'd be hydraulically powered here. The novel's going to give us another insight, but I don't really like that idea either. But yeah, it's just weird that this ramp, if it was on cables, and yes, it's been lowered down onto the concrete dock, and obviously there's been a bit of extra cable unspool, which is why it drops down. But a big ship like this there should be a hydraulic ramp.
I know that the general cargo area and stern of the ship was based on the LPD landing platform dock that is used by navies. And I'd have to ask my dad when he served on his how the ramp was raised and lowered, but I know that the general idea of it is that the ramp can be lowered far enough to allow seawater to actually enter this cargo area and allow ships to float off, or not ships, but like landing vehicles to float off out of the back of the ship and onto the beaches.
Oh, okay, yep. Well, yeah, and we're going to see at the end of the minute where the Unimog's having trouble driving up the ramp. Yes, wet rubber on wet steel, you're going to have trouble.
Yeah.
I'd assume it being a landing vessel that they could dispatch or let amphibious vehicles go out. I'm sure there'd be all sorts of non-slip stuff on that ramp, so we don't see what we see at the end of this minute. I'm just going to put it up to Hollywood, just trying to add suspense that yes, not only do we have a volcano coming, not only is the boat leaving, but now the ramps drop down into the water as well, which is just piling on for our heroes, so to speak. But briefly mentioned it last minute. I was a member of the Australian Defence Force, and I trained as a driver with these Unimogs. Driving at speeds or jumping is, I can only imagine, maybe not so much, but a fighter pilot seeing a jet do something that it can't do that, or someone that rides motorbikes seeing someone do some absurd CG stunt on a motorcycle in a movie. But anyway, Claire's actions here by changing gears and flooring it would have it'd be very slow and delayed response from the engine, and not what we see in the movie. But it is a movie, and the Unimog races along the dock towards the departing ship, and someone was inspired by speed because it launches up in the air and flies off the dock onto that back ramp.
Now, that physics I don't understand is what caused it to fly up in the air. Like, I mean, Unimogs don't drive that fast in the first place. The most it's going to do is just kind of drop right off the edge there.
Yeah, you're probably good for about 40, 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Top speed, and you need... Again, I'm pretty sure this seems familiar. We would have talked about this when we were talking about the Raptors pursuing the last Unimog. This is the same model as what we've seen in Jurassic World. A little bit with the condition, I'd say it's something returned and not something left behind from Jurassic World. It'd be interesting if we did see some sort of markings on it to suggest it was something left behind from Jurassic World. But it's speed all over again, because again on that we see the approach to the gap and it's clear. Here we've seen the ramp drop off the end of the dock and it's clear, and then at least that they actually had a real bus do the jump, where here obviously CG. Unfortunately, we have this CG Unimog fly in the air, but it does the same thing. The front kicks up as if there's a ramp or something there to launch it. But it happens. And the other thing, they aren't naturally kept in four-wheel drive. There's a switch there. You can have in two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive with the diff locks engaged. So if it's been used just around the dock, then it might not have been in four-wheel drive. So it landing on this ramp with the wet water, and the rear tyres spinning, I can buy that. Especially if the ramp has dropped a bit too. There's a bit more of a steep angle there for it to try and get up. Interesting, while the back wheels are spinning here, you can see the Californian license plates on the back, which you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about volcanoes wiping out any evidence of these guys doing this stuff on the island, and vehicles and that being left behind as charred remains. License plate would be the same, where, okay, I'll say aluminium, you'll say aluminum, but I know plates here are made of that, so it probably wouldn't take a lot for them to melt. But it's a fake movie plate, but it is a Californian plate, which would tie back to Superiors, or we know Lockwood Mansion is in California, so maybe Mills was a bit neglectful when he was ordering gear for this expedition.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Because mercenaries, of course, and ones doing this here would try to be secretive, but anyway, we do see when it does go into the cargo hold too, the license plate on the front as well. So, but yeah, through the power of yelling and changing gears in the Unimog, Claire gets it to drive up the ramp, because anyone that's seen a movie, or anyone that's had trouble with a bog car or something, all you have to do is yell, and it'll start to move and get yourself out.
Oh, of course.
Yep. But it finally gets grip and launches up into the ship's hold. Surprisingly, no one has seen this. There's no crew at the rear of the ship. There's no bystanders watching the volcano that we see anyway.
Not until everybody turns around and watches it. I mean, there must be like 25 people in the cargo hold, like just minutes later.
Yeah.
Just seconds later, I should say.
Yeah. And I can sort of... To them, all they've seen is a Unimog driving up the dock. As far as they're concerned, it could have been someone that hasn't made the boat yet. So
True.
I can understand why they're not really rushing to capture Owen and the crew. But in saying that, you just seen supposedly your comrades jump a Unimog into the back. Is one person not going up for a fist pump or something like that? And hey, who are you guys?
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, do it again. And then the Unimog screeches to a halt as everyone takes a moment to be thankful that they're on board. And we start to hear that soft alarm in the voices. Claire grabs a John Deere hat or cap from the sun visor that falls down when she pulls the sun visor down, and puts her hair up, doing the age-old female trying to blend in on a ship full of men by tucking the hair away to look like a man, which it's like Clark Kent and glasses. You can't put your hair away and all of a sudden you look like a guy. I'm sorry. But yes, then on the hold, suddenly all the mercenaries start to, it can be seen, we can pan across their prizes in the trucks all lined up in the hold. We see the stegosaur moving around in the cage. And we keep on panning to the rear door where we start to get some people amassing at that big open rear door. And Claire opens the truck door and looks back to where the men are standing, and as the score slows and the background noise softens, the crew go over to watch a lone brachiosaur lumbering onto the abandoned dock, bellowing at the departing boat. And that's where this minute ends. No spoiler, of course, that brachiosaur's only got another minute of its life left, and we'll be back to discuss that next week. Alright, we covered that pretty well, Dave. Looking into novel comparisons briefly, on the ship, a crewman orders drop the ramp, cut it, just as the speeding truck drove up the ramp and into it fell into the water. So I'm not sure what happened there, unless there's some sort of wooden or makeshift ramp that was being used from the ship to bridge from the ship to the dock, and they've just cut it and left it behind, which would sort of make sense, but not for this type of boat. If it was some other cargo ship or something that didn't normally have ramp access, and they've got like a makeshift or one they've built, or a ramp that's on the dock anyway for other ships, it sort of makes a bit more sense with cutting the ramp or having it drop down into the water. But also then that means that at least one crewman has seen the Unimog enter the hold as well. So again, maybe it's just thinking comrades have made it to the boat, and that was a lucky near miss. They could have been left behind, like the poor brachiosaur. Claire and the crew watched the burning island, the scorched island that slowly crumbled into the ocean, and with steam rising. So it seems to be a lot more devastating in the novelisation, what we get in the novel, and I'll be interested to see how next minute's handled in the novelisation as well with the brachiosaur. But Dave, anything else on minute 50 before we get out of here for the week?
Yeah, I think we're good.
And that should have been minute 51, not 50. Oh, so many numbers. We've got 2 more minutes, and we are off this island for good, unfortunately. So the time has come to steam towards California and Lockwood Manor.
Mm-hmm.